11 weeks, 11 wins, and the Hoosiers are still perfect. On Senior Day inside Memorial Stadium, Indiana once again answered the call. A 34-10 statement win over Wisconsin that echoed across the Big Ten. Fernando Mendoza steady, the defense relentless, and a team with everything to lose, playing like it fears nothing. Now, the calendar turns. No opponent this Saturday, but the stakes have never been higher. The bye week is here, and with it, the pressure of a championship chase. This is the moment where contenders sharpen and pretenders crack. Health, preparation, self-scout, every detail matters. Because in 2 weeks, a rivalry waits in West Lafayette. And beyond that, the brightest stage in college football. And while the Hoosiers rest, the nation watches, wondering just how high this run can climb. Indiana football is 11-0, ranked number 2, and chasing history 1 week at a time. This is the Hoosier Tailgate, and it starts now.
Raiola. And picked off! Up the sideline! Indiana! Asbury! Walking them down! Woo! IU! America! They got a football team now!
Welcome in, everybody, to the Hoosier Tailgate. And your number 2 Indiana Hoosiers are 11-0, sitting in at a nice and deserved bye week for them to get healthy and for them to do some evaluations from A to Z. They're number 2 in the country. We'll find out tomorrow night if that is a continuation at that number in Indiana. Stays at that. We'll have an idea of that tomorrow night when they release the college football playoff brackets. But they took care of Wisconsin on Senior Day. Got a big show for you here tonight. We're going to take a look at the Big Ten scores in and around college football as well. Quickly look at the Wisconsin win, some recruiting news, and also look at some things with the college football playoffs as well. It may be a bye week, but the tailgate keeps rolling around to keep you informed on what's happening in Hoosier land as well as college football. Good evening, everybody. I'm the coach, Shannon Griffith, and welcome again to the Hoosier Tailgate here on thehoosier.com. If you would kindly hit that like button and subscribe button if you're on the YouTube channel, retweet and like on the X.com. Via the Hoosier Tailgate web X page. And there you will find a bio link tree that will take you to all the affiliate links that we have here at the Tailgate. More importantly, the Fanatics store. There you can go and find some great deals. They're doing some great deals of right now. I think they may be running a 60% special, but it's never too early to start shopping for that gear for the holidays and that gear that you want to proudly display walking into Lucas Oil Stadium here in the month of December if Indiana can sew things up with a big win at Purdue for the Old Oaken Bucket. But enough of that right now. Appreciate you all coming in this evening and being with me here each and every week. I enjoy being with you and talking with you and about the Indiana Hoosiers. So if you have a question, comment, suggestion, by all means, put it in the chat box. We like to know who's out there listening to us and who wants to know what the questions are or may be. We got a couple get there. Michael, appreciate you coming back again today, as is Robert. Appreciate you as well for some of that football talk, you both and others that are with us in the chat box via X or on YouTube. So appreciate you all being here tonight. And we'll take our time and get through this. As you can tell, I am fighting a cold. It hit me last night. My wife had it, and she deals with little kids. She's a speech pathologist, very, very good speech pathologist. She sees a lot of different types of kids that need, she's what you call a feeding specialist, picky eaters, things of that magnitude. She deals with kids with Down syndrome, autism kids, you name it. She deals with it because she's the best at it. I married out of my league, gentlemen, and don't ever forget that my wife is a superstar, and I'm just the bystander in her shadow. But unfortunately, dealing with little kids on a daily basis, you have a tendency to pick up their germs. And she brought something home, and I told her I want the name of the little man that gave you this cold, because I'm gonna go break his knees. But I'm fighting it here tonight, so bear with me. Little hoarse, little sniffly, and things of that nature. But I'm glad that we are here to talk about these Indiana Hoosiers, 11-0. What a great day, as they would say, to be an Indiana Hoosier, as always. And you got to admire what Curt Cignetti's done in this process, and what he's been able to do in just 2 short years of time. It's kind of amazing that he has done what he's done here at Indiana. And he has probably had a lot of coaches across the country and ADs wanting to know what he did, how he did it, because everybody's looking at Indiana right now, and it's like, are they getting punked? Because Indiana's 11-0 and number 2 in the country. There are people out there that cannot believe it. People that are in the media that cannot believe it. People in the Southeastern Conference that just will not accept it. But too damn bad, because Indiana Hoosiers and Coach Cignetti have been on fire. They're playing pretty darn good football this year as well. They're banged up. I think it was evident on Saturday that they were pretty much holding on in that first half of play, and not very good on offense. I think the defense has played pretty darn consistent all the way through. I mean, they have really been that saving grace when an offense is a little bit sluggish, maybe not hitting on all cylinders. Brian Haynes-led defense has done a heck of a job this year and kept us in the ball games when things could have got ugly. And at halftime, when Indiana, again, scored on the final drive of the half. I don't know how many times that is. I got to look it up. I know it's got to be at least 8 out of the 11 games they have scored in the final 2 minutes of a half of the second quarter going into halftime. And that is such a huge momentum boost to score in that time period. It's unbelievable. And people call the middle 8, last 4 of the second quarter, first 4 of the third quarter. Indiana got the ball, went down this field and scored in the opening drive of the second half. So they opened the game with a touchdown. They closed the first half with a field goal, and then took the opening drive and went down the field and scored. And then from that point forward, man, they just took off, and nothing was going to keep them from achieving what they wanted to achieve, and they scored 17 unanswered points. It is a pretty remarkable feat that this team has accomplished heading into the final week of the season with the Purdue Boilermakers coming up. But what I was going to allude to, people were asking me, texting me, what I thought maybe Coach Cignetti would do at halftime of this ball game. You had a lackluster performance offensively. He had a couple times where he had to punt it, and he didn't want to punt it, but because they were not very on point, even though it was 4th and 1 or 2, he was not going to chance anything with their defense and putting them in a bad hole. And so he did the right thing. He punted the football away, played field position, and let his defense go play with the long field to defend. But at halftime, many people would have thought he would have gone in yelling and screaming and, scorching the paint off the walls of trying to get the attention of this football team. And I kind of said, being in that position before as a coach, that wasn't the right approach. I mean, in that sense, in that situation, you want to go in, first of all, you want to get their attention in a calm way, and you want to redirect their attention to the main points you want to get to. I think he made some comment about getting back to playing football and having fun and put a smile on their face and letting it fly. As simple as that is, that's what he did. And he got the assistants together to get with their both sides of their ball and to reapproach what the game plan was, what the objectives were. And it wasn't nothing more than a calming halftime talk that redirected their attention, their focus to get them to get, working hard during the second half. And that's exactly what they did. So sometimes in today's age, going in and being Woody Hayes and trying to, yell and scream and do things of that nature is the worst thing you can do. And that would have been one point of it on Saturday with a team that you were clearly better than. And it was just a refocus and a re-attention to those matters. Let's look at some things here. Excuse me. Recruiting news, big recruiting news. Indiana flips a wide receiver from Penn State over the weekend to Indiana out of DeMatha High School in Maryland, a big-time program. Have had several big-time players come out of DeMatha. Lavar Keys, a solid 3-star receiver. My evaluation is up on the Hoosier.com of this young man. Good speed, very good quickness. I like the way he moves. He's very smooth. On top of that, he fields punts and returns kicks, and you can see the fluidity in his approach to the game as he catches punts without any doubt. And when he gets the ball, he tries to get up the field as quickly as possible using his speed. And this was a very good flip for Indiana to add to an already deep wide receiver room, considering you're going to lose E.J. Williams, Elijah Surratt, and Omar Cooper, and I think Brady as well, the kid from Cal. He may be done after this year. I'm not positive on that one. But you add these guys, this young man, into the mix, and it's going to be a very, very good returning wide receiver room, especially the way Charlie Becker's played here the last part of the season. And he is set to take over the room and be a great leader for the wide receiver room. The other thing in this is Virginia Tech has their man, James Franklin, the new head coach there at Virginia Tech. He will he negotiated his buyout at Penn State down to $9 million, and Virginia Tech will pay the differential in terms of what they agreed to. Penn State will play that $9 million. So in essence, they're paying him to go coach at Virginia Tech. As crazy as that sounds, but Virginia Tech got them a good football coach. ACC, I do think it is a good opportunity for James Franklin. Very familiar with the area and the East Coast. I think he'll do a great job there. And I know that he talked to several different opportunities that were available, but Virginia Tech was the main one that kind of came after him full bore. It'll be interesting to see who he takes from the Penn State staff once that is settled. It would be interesting to see if he takes the coordinators and some other the position coaches. That will be interesting to see in that respect, to see what's all going on. See how many of these recruits will fall. Well, that would be another good one, in terms of what he's going to be able to take over there at Virginia Tech. Doubt many will go. I think they will either commit and stay with Penn State if they can. If not, this is where the likes of Indiana steps into the fray. But Ohio State's already picked up a couple guys. I think Michigan has as well. So we'll just have to wait and see on that. But good to see for James Franklin to stay in this game and get the job at Virginia Tech. I have a ton of respect for him as a person. I do not know him. I've known several people that know him and vouch for him as a man, a human being, good family man, and I just don't think it's going to be one of those things for them. Is that Franklin wasn't going to be out of a job for too long today, so that'll be an interesting dynamic in that regard. Let's see. Virginia Tech can't afford those. Well, that's probably true. But the nice thing about that is Penn State will have to pay his contract. They have what they call mitigation clause in it, where you have to make an honest effort to get a job somewhere. And whatever that job pays you versus what you were making at Penn State, they'll make up the differential. So when you think about it, they could orchestrate it there at Virginia Tech, where he makes up close to what he's making at Penn State in that respect, and everything. So we'll see what happens there. But my goal, I think Omar Cooper is a red shirt. You may be correct on that. And like I said, I'm kind of a little bit out of tune tonight there, Michael. But yes, I do think if he has the opportunity to go, he will. I do think that. Now, that will all be. I think that all becomes what Indiana does in the rest of the year, Big Ten championship game, college football playoffs, where his stock may lie. It's not worth it to go in the draft if you're not going to be at least the third rounder. Some of them, they tell you that, and you find out you're a fifth rounder, because there's never a ideal scenario there. But I do think he goes if the draft looks good in his favor. I think he's improved his stock immensely over the last few weeks with what he's done on the field, taking over as being kind of the guy because Elijah wasn't in. So we'll see what happens there as well. But other thing here is Hoosier injuries and updates and all that. And then there's a confirmation. I thank you guys for keeping me straight. That's why you're here, right? Keep the old man straight. He has one more year left. Well, like I said, that would be awesome if he would come back. I just doubt if he will, if the path to the NFL is there. And that will be a to be determined as we go through it all. Hoosier injuries and updates in that respect. We know where Surratt and Evans is. I had a pretty good acknowledgement that Surratt, if needed, could have gone Saturday. They just felt with a bye week coming up, Becker's play, that they wanted to make sure he is fully healed going into the Purdue game. And then, of course, the rest of whatever there may be, rather than pushing too quick and him twitching something again. And I don't know if it's all a leg issue. I know there were some underlying things there as well, but I do think he's ready to go. Evans, I think the hope is yes. I think there's a hope that he can get back and ready to play in the Purdue game. That one has been a little bit more quiet. in terms of where he's at, and I don't quite know where his status is in rehabbing and everything of that nature. I'm not even 100% sure his injury. I've heard it's most likely a knee, which would make sense. He got hurt there, and I think it was the Michigan State game. And so I'm betting it was a pretty good sprain, and maybe even some other damage like a meniscus, but I don't have 100% certainty with that, and Indiana's pretty tight-lipped on that stuff. But from all practical purposes, it looks as if he will be hopeful for the Purdue game as well, and we'll see. And those are the two major things that have been guys that have been major players, especially offensively, that have been out. Of course, everybody's got the bumps and bruises to some degree. They would probably would set them if they didn't need them. I do think up in the offensive line, I think Benson's banged up. He's got, I think, a bad wheel, but we'll see what all happens with this bye week. They're going to do, I doubt if they do much this week from a football standpoint until probably the latter part of the week, and really give this first half of the week time to guys to catch up on things and get healed up and get in for rehab and treatment and things like that. But we will see with all that. I did see a question pop up, so I want to get to it real quick. How many players from this team will be in the NFL? I'm going to say 4 right now off the top of my head. I think Mendoza goes. I do think that D'Angelo will probably go. Those two for sure. I do think there's some guys up front in the defensive line will have an opportunity, like Daly. I think he's got a great opportunity to potentially go in the NFL. And then I'm probably going to say Surratt off of those 4. Now, Fisher could be another guy in there just because he's the way he plays. I think there's going to be some team out there that likes him. I don't know if he's going to be a 1 to 3 round type of draft choice. I would take him because of what he's done in his career. But, Daly, I think, is going to be a guy that will get a ton of attention. Wheeler, probably another guy. And then, of course, Kamara. And I know Kamara right now has some issues with that shoulder that Coach Sig has talked about. So hopefully he will be back again and ready to go against Purdue. He's the other one that is kind of banged up in that respect. So that's kind of where we're at with some of the injury stuff that we need to keep an eye on as we go through the week and stuff of that magnitude. And then, of course, I do think Indiana will remain at the number 2 spot. We'll talk a little bit more about that here in a second, but I know there's been some discussion and some, talk about Texas A&M and where they are at. I don't think that is going to hold water since they essentially were getting their what kicked against South Carolina, a team that was 3-6, 30-3 in their own backyard. Now, they did come back and made a miraculous comeback, and tip your hat to them because that was a phenomenal comeback. But I don't think it's going to be something that's going to be awarding them a spot forward in the college football playoff. So right now, I do think Indiana remains their number 2 spot. We'll take a look at the FPI stuff here in a second. But I do think Indiana's in a good spot when it comes to that stuff overall. Let's look at some of the things that went on this past weekend, schedule-wise, kind of the scoreboard per se here. Of course, Oregon with a big win against Minnesota never really was in doubt there in Eugene, 42-13. Of course, Indiana scored. Northwestern and Michigan. Michigan needs a last-second field goal to get by Northwestern at Wrigley Field. Northwestern has been a team in the Big Ten nobody's really talking about, but they've had a pretty darn good year. It's a shame they lost that game to Michigan because they really played pretty darn good. They beat Penn State at Penn State in a very similar game, 22-21, that this game was. But they're a team that's, I think, has played pretty darn good this year and not gotten a lot of publicity for it. And they're on the cusp of having that new Taj Mahal Stadium ready for them to move in, I think, next season. So that will be a huge boost to their program, as well as what they've been able to do this year. Illinois gets a big win over Maryland. I was a little bit worried about Mike Locksley's tenure at Maryland. Sunday, they gave him the vote of confidence and said he will return for the 26th season. So, they got that quarterback who's pretty darn good, and I think they were probably a little fearful if they let Franklin go, that Washington kid was going to jump in the portal and go somewhere. So that'll be interesting to keep an eye on, but for now, he got the vote of confidence. Penn State, big win on the road. They finally break through and beat Michigan State 28-10. There are rumblings in East Lansing for Jonathan Smith. So that's a job to keep an eye on what may happen there, even though he's in year 2. They have really struggled this year as a football team. USC, big win at home in the rain, 26-21 over Iowa. They actually keep their hopes alive for potential Big Ten championship appearance, potentially. Things would have to happen for that to come to fruition. But their bigger picture is the potential 4th team, or 3rd team from the Big Ten getting in, because USC still has to play Oregon, which I think is this week. And then, of course, they got one more after that. Or no. Yes, they have one more after that. But they got a big one against Oregon this week. That will be an interesting ball game. Washington hammers Purdue 49-13. And then, of course, Ohio State takes care of UCLA 48-10. UCLA was out without Nico Amalava. And they pretty much had that game controlled from start to finish. Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate, their 2 top wide receivers, didn't play hardly at all. Tate was out in regular street clothes, and Smith played very few snaps in that game for Ohio State as they rested a lot of their top guys once they had the game in control on Saturday. Looking at this college football picture first, we're going to take a look. There's the top 25 release. Indiana still remaining there. The first 5 teams didn't change as much. Oklahoma, huge jump ahead. They even leapfrogged Notre Dame with that win against Alabama, who essentially controlled the game in the sense of the statistical data point, except one category, turnovers. They got turning the ball over, and OU was converting those into points, and that is what ended the longest home win streak in the country for Alabama. And I do believe Indiana now holds that streak, if I'm not mistaken. But that one was a definite blow to Alabama, but a huge boost for Oklahoma. And what's interesting there is going to be how it all plays out, especially where Michigan's at down there at 18. Kind of, if they would upset Ohio State, that would really throw things into a tizzy. But you can see SC's right there at number 16. Oregon's at number 6. So if SC would beat Oregon, that would be a huge upset. That could upset the apple cart. And as you can see right now, the SEC has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams that are in position to get in, with Vandy sitting right there, potentially opening the door. If one of these teams would stumble, Vandy could come in and give them a 6th team potentially in the college football playoffs. ACC right now, little more murky. Miami kind of is the highest rated team in that conference. Utah's kind of on the outside of the Big 12 with BYU right there. So it's going to be a heck of a couple weeks here coming into the final college football playoff polls. As you see, JMU is right there at number 21. And remember, the group of 5, I think, will get one by the highest ranked team. That's kind of the 12th spot per se. Not every, not every conference champion gets an automatic bid anymore. So just because you win your conference, if you're not ranked high, it doesn't mean you're going to get in. So this is going to be an interesting thing come Tuesday night to see where it all stacks up. To stole this off of, let's see, Herb Street and his little podcast that they have that they put up, which I kind of think makes it nice here to see where the teams are: SEC, Big 10, Big 12, ACC, and then the independent group of 5 teams. And you can kind of see who's kind of lurking on the outside. With Texas losing, that'll be interesting to see if that really puts them behind the 8 ball and lets Oklahoma jump up in there. Of course, that game, Kirby Smart was great in that respect. Let's see here. Thank you so much, Tony. Appreciate you. Appreciate you being here again. I'm struggling, as you can tell, but Indiana does have that up and kind of already got that one there. So you kind of see the dynamics here with the college football playoffs. Big 10 right now has got 3 with SC on the outside looking in. And they're in a pretty good position because if they would beat Oregon, I got a feeling that they would be in the playoff. Playing in that first round. So there's a lot more to be paid. The ACC is going to be an interesting one. You got Georgia Tech, you got Virginia Tech right there. Louisville and Pitt, I think, are on the outside, but this is going to be interesting here. Who gets into the ACC championship game and whether or not that pole vaults them into the college football playoffs. And then the same thing with the Big 12. Right now, Texas Tech is probably the best team in the Big 12. And then you got a host like BYU, Utah. Cincinnati lost, so I doubt they're in anywhere close to being a possibility in the playoffs. So that will be, on Tuesday night with all that. And we'll see what comes to it as we look at that. I want to make sure I don't have anything else down here. Nope. But it's going to be an interesting 2 weeks of the season. That's the best thing about college football is the final couple weeks of the season. People jockeying for a position to be maybe in the, a championship game. And I know there's pros and cons to being in a championship game. It probably benefited Ohio State last year that they weren't in it because they went on to win the national championship. But the jockeying to get in there is always exciting. You got these teams that are going to create a vacuum of what may or may not happen. Does the SEC, are they worthy of getting 6 teams in the college football playoffs? If you ask Stanky, their leader, he'd bang his fist on the table and say, absolutely yes, and they probably should get 7 is what he would tell you. But right now, they're sitting pretty good with the 5 that they have. the Big Ten, I think the top three there are good. Ohio State, Indiana, of course, and then Oregon. But we'll have to see here at the end of the week on what all happens with all that. But going to take a quick break, get a chance to get me some water to get my voice back ready. Then we'll head over into the statistical depth and get to the Coach Griff's video room, all right here on Hoosier Tailgate on the Hoosier.com.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets. You ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors? Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code ON3, and you will get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. 1. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using bonus code ON3. 2. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. 3. You will receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use bonus code ON3 when you sign up. Make this college football season 1 for the history books. Make it legendary. Don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code ON3 and get your $1,500 first bet offer today. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. U.S. promotional offers not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER available in the U.S. Call 877-8HO.
Welcome back to Hoosier Tailgate here on the Hoosier.com. Hoosiers entering the bye week as they defeated Wisconsin on Saturday, 11th straight win of the year, in a 31-7 ball game where they really exploded in the second half. 24 unanswered points if you add the last part of the first quarter or second quarter into the equation. But played really well. The defense dominated in that respect. So that was a pretty – and we'll look at the statistics here. And then I wanted to get this one. Jamie, appreciate you being here, buddy. And like your comment here, let's be real. It's only 1 week season remaining for the SEC with their out-of-conference games this next week. And if memory serves me right, Georgia's the only SEC team that may have a challenge. I do believe Georgia plays Charlotte 49ers this week, a toughie. Ole Miss last week, they played the Citadel. And so this week, with the Georgias and Alabamas of the world, they both will go outside of conference in their way they scheduled play these games. And then we'll gear up for their final game of the season, which is traditionally the rivalry week, Georgia Tech. And that game was a phenomenal game a year ago, 5 overtimes. You got Alabama and Auburn in the Iron Bowl. I think it's a must-win for Alabama to hopefully continue getting a shot to get in the college football playoffs. Vandy, Tennessee. I mean, I can go right on down. There's going to be some great rivalry games here in a couple weeks, including Indiana, Purdue. You got Michigan and Ohio State. All these games that are going to be played throughout the country in the final weeks of the season. And like I said, it's the best time of year when it comes to college football, when you got everything going that way. Tony adds that Charlotte is a great 1-9 this year. The guy that took that job, because Biff Bogey is at Michigan now. He was the coach last year when Indiana played them. Was the head coach at Ohio and won a ton of games. And really took over for Frank Zolich, kept the train rolling, and he chose to go to Charlotte for whatever reason. I don't know. Maybe there was more money. But or he maybe just wanted a challenge. Well, he got one because they're 1-9 and really struggling there. And I think they're in the American Conference, if I'm not mistaken, but who knows in that respect. I did put up the link for the Big Ten Championship game. Also, you can use my link tree. I've got a StubHub link there that you may be able to get on there and maybe get some discounts towards that. You'll have to wait and see. That kind of changes daily on that link, but you can find that on my link tree for StubHub, and I do think I have another one in there too. I just don't remember the name of it right now. But anyway, it is what it is. But the other one I got on there is for JLab for headphones. It's a really good deal. So if you're looking for some headphones, there's a link there for JLab, and I think it's a 10% off for one of their headsets. So let's get into the stats from Saturday. Let's get to the right page there, dummy. And whoops, here we go. And right now, looking at this overall stats from the game on Saturday, you can see here Indiana just thoroughly dominated. 31 points, gave up only 70 yards rushing, 98 yards passing for 168, a complete domination by Indiana, plus the addition of 2 turnovers, which they got 14 points on. Red zone, Indiana continues to do great there, 100%, and then 67% on touchdowns. For Wisconsin, NA, because they had none. That's how good the defense was on Saturday. And then they held them to 2 of 11 on third down conversions, which means exactly what I've told you. Indiana's efficiency on defense on first and second downs was really good on Saturday. Wisconsin did not have much success on the early downs outside of the first drive of the game. Offensively speaking, Indiana was 58% on third down conversions. Their efficiency on first down Saturday was 5 yards. They averaged 5 yards on first down attempts Saturday, and that right there tells you why they had a pretty good day on third down conversions. Sig did not go for any fourth downs, as we talked about earlier. Didn't feel like it was a situation to put his ball club in, especially the struggles that Indiana's offense was having in the first half. They had a couple 3rd and 2s and 3rd and 1s that led to those fourth down discussion decisions of punting it, where they just got no yardage. I mean, completely stuffed, and we'll talk about that later. Fernando, what do you say? And Alberto was in for one throw, but 305 yards, 92% on the day. Just a phenomenal day at quarterback. But there's the biggest thing right there is 83 yards in total rush yardage. Now, Wisconsin had 5 sacks, but I think it was for 10 yards. And they had 6 TFLs on the day, and I can't remember what that totaled to. But right there is a big concern, and I've been saying it for the last 2 weeks, that Indiana has struggled to run the ball against very stout football teams at the point of attack. You're going to face it definitely against Ohio State and Patricia's defense. They're right behind Indiana in a lot of statistical categories. And they're going to face that in the college football playoffs, whoever they play. So hopefully getting Drew Evans back potentially for Purdue, Surratt back, being up front, getting some of the bumps and bruises healed will be a positive result when they head to Purdue to play Purdue, because I still think you've got to have efficiency running the football if you're going to be a team that's a serious contender. Fernando has played very well. He's bailed them out with his arm, as has the receivers making big plays, but he can't always get to a one-dimensional team because he's going to get lit up. And that's the one thing that's the big concern, is that inefficiency. So hopefully they are addressing that aspect of things. Right now, against the 5 teams that they've played that I said are stout fronts, Penn State, Oregon, Wisconsin, I said Michigan State was in that equation as well, and Iowa, those 5 teams, they've averaged 107 yards against those 5 opponents. So you can see against other teams that they've played where they've been the better of the 2, they've rushed it for big yards. We had 5 games of over 300 yards rushing, and now we've had 2 games in a row with under 100 yards rushing. So that's where my concern lies in that respect. So, but overall, a good day in the office for Indiana, statistically speaking, especially the defense. Time of possession, big day there as well. So overall, I think Indiana did quite well in some of those categories. Heading over to the FPI indexes and stuff right now, I pulled up the entire country, not just the Big Ten this week. And you can see overall where Indiana still remains at number 2 in FPI index. Pretty darn good in that respects. Overall, you can see, where they're at in some of this stuff. It's really good. I saw one thing that said Indiana's record in terms of strength of record, and we'll look at that as well. Any other team would have about a 4% chance of duplicating Indiana's season against the teams that they've played, because that's how they look at it when they compare what Indiana's done versus everybody else. So pretty interesting dynamic there. And you look at it, it's kind of weird to see this in Ohio State, Indiana, Oregon right there, all 3 of them. Oregon being 9-1, and then you kind of head on down to the 2 loss teams. They're kind of there in the middle of the pack. Texas Tech 10-1. They had a big jump this week, 3. Alabama dropped 2, as did Texas A&M. There's a team that's in number 3 in the college football playoff poll. In the FPI index, they actually dropped 2 spots because of their game against South Carolina, even though they're undefeated. So you can kind of see how this dynamic works. Texas 3-loss team that's kind of in that mix there, but with them having that 3rd loss, they're treating them like a 2-loss team because they played Ohio State week 1, and they don't want to punish teams like that who play a stronger upfront contest. They don't want to penalize them if they come out in a game that they lose, especially if it's a close game, which I understand. I don't disagree with that. When you look at the resumes, let's go over and look at these resumes now. Then you can see how it really changed. A&M is the number 1 ranked team in resume. Strength of record, overall number 1. You can see where they're ranked there. Their strength of schedule is 18th in the country, 26th in the country with what's remaining. And you can see all that dynamic in Indiana still there at number 2 when you look at the resumes. Then you got the rest of the best of the rest. And you can see some teams are kind of tied together and how that all looks. But Indiana's still a firm number 2 when you look at the resume and then efficiencies. Indiana and Ohio State 1-2. Texas Raiders jump up to the 3rd spot when you look at efficiency aspects of things. Bringing in all dynamics, offense, defense, special teams in that respect. So Indiana is firmly in all the statistical categories that the College Football Playoff Committee looks at especially when you start looking at, excuse me, strength of record, strength of schedule. With all that, those are all important facets of them being in a position to have a secure future of being in the college football playoffs, which I think right now is somewhere in the 95 or 96 percentile when you look at the college football playoff accelerator when it looks at it from different perspectives. So everything's looking good there for Indiana in that respect, and where they're setting overall at this point in time, as we would say, it's always a snapshot in time. And now that they're in a bye week, it'll be interesting how this all shakes out with Indiana on a bye this week. When you look at the game objectives from Saturday, excuse me, as soon as they pop up here, offensively, we talked about what they were going to need. I kind of challenged them to rush for 185, which would have been about 60 some odd yards more, 70 some yards more than what Wisconsin had been giving up. That was not obtained. They did do the passing goal, and basically Fernando threw for 299. They did do good on the money downs. They scored 100 points, 100% points in the red zone, and they had plus 30 points on the board on Saturday. So out of all those objectives, they only missed one from what I had kind of put in as a challenge. Defense did great. They held Wisconsin to under 115 yards. They held them under 140 yards in the passing game. Under their points per game average, they hit that. The money down scenario, they did phenomenal there. And then they won the turnover battle with +2 on the day. So defensively, you could see that was a strong outing by Brian Haynes' defense. And commend them for playing a really good ball game until the offense got to the point where the second half was total complementary football at its finest. The second half was very similar to what we've seen all year. When this team plays complementary football, they are darn good. Special teams on the day, again, with all this, Indiana did quite well with the special teams for the day. They had some good returns. Brady had some good returns on the day. So they did get that 15 yards per return. I think he averaged 17. They did not score or set up a score with a kick game. They were 100% on all their PATs and field goals, especially field goals under 35 yards. And they did win the field position battle on Saturday, which was another key element because they wanted to force Wisconsin into a long yardage situation. So again, Indiana did quite well with all that on Saturday and came away with the win. They found a way to win. Maybe it wasn't the prettiest. I know Nick Saban says he likes to win, but when winning is ugly, he's not too happy with it, or something to that extent. He said it again on Saturday from his coaching days because he is a perfectionist, and Sig is too. There's no question about it. That's that hungry and humble mindset that he preaches about. And so from that standpoint, Indiana really did great in that respect from the game on Saturday. Let's head over to the video room here for a little bit. Don't want to take too much. I'm losing my voice. And, of course, in this situation, you just kind of let it play through. But we're going to take a look here offensively for Indiana, what they were able to accomplish on Saturday, get this blown up, and see some of these plays, and then we'll switch over to the defense, the smothering defense. Oh, come on. You're not going to do this to me, are you? Of course you are. All right. This first play of the game, Indiana got it at the first time they hit the field. There was only 7 minutes left. Again, Fernando sees the off edge blitz. He decides to pull it out and throw it on the outcut there at the top. Good route by EJ. Good timing there. So they did pretty good there on that first down play with the RPO. 2nd and 6 now here in that drive. Hard play action. They were going to look to throw it over the top. And he does a great job of chopping his feet down and getting it to stays in the flat. But you can see where Benson almost runs into him. That's for a quarterback, that's unnerving when you got a tackle that's that deep because he's trying to get out to the farthest guy. And almost runs into the quarterback. Stays does a great job. You can see this kid's athleticism. And I don't know why they don't utilize him more than they have. I don't know if it's a trust thing or things of that magnitude, but that kid is too darn athletic. And I know Nowakowski has done a great job. Here's one of their 3rd and 1s where they get it. Himby's just a warrior in this. They're running inside zone there, do a good job of not getting the penetration. They're keeping Wisconsin on different levels here. Great job by Coogan there coming up on the biker. Those 2 freshman linebackers for Wisconsin, pretty darn good. So that was a good play there. Another 3rd and 1 here on this first drive. Indiana does score. Again, Hemby. This one, it was a little bit more him than anything. As you can see, Indiana's not getting great movement at all here, running the inside zone. But they do cover up Wisconsin, and Hemby does a great jump cut and finds a seam to get the first down. And like I've said, the running backs have to make the O-lineman right. I mean, that's the whole thing. Hemby and Black, when they're running the ball, even Martin does a great job of making the O-lineman right. And again, if you guys got any questions, by all means, shoot them at me. Here's the touchdown. Indiana had talked about this. I think Charlie talked about this in the post game. They had worked all week with a corner strike and what they're coming with in a blitz situation here on 1st and 10. And Fernando sees it, Charlie sees it, and they get the one-on-one against the safety. And nice throw, great catch for a touchdown on that first drive by Indiana. Okay, let's see. What we got here, Robert? Are we looking to repeat of last year's Ohio State game if they can't move the football on the ground? Well, again, that is why I said that they got to be more creative in what they do offensively to run the football. They have not been overly creative. And what I mean by that, it's pretty simplistic what they run. Again, here's inside zone on 1st and 10 out of the RPO game. They're reading that backer. He does a great job of delivering it to EJ. EJ gets back upfield. So this is a pure spot route. He's kind of reading 15 as the backer pulls over the top, and he does a great job. Fernando's got such a quick release, man. It's crazy how quickly he gets the ball out of his hands. 1st and 10 again. They're gonna pass it here. It's a quick 3-step drop concept. He looks to his right. I don't think Omar's running the right route, but he's looking at Omar first, and he comes back and hits Charlie. So good job of scanning back and getting to probably his 3rd objective there. Now 2nd and 11, 4-man rush. Nice pitch and catch with Charlie to get it down to a manageable third down. This is a little bit later, 2nd and 14. They run Roman. He does a great job of, I'm sure Wisconsin was thinking pass here. Indiana does a great job of getting Wisconsin to move with them. But I tell you that Pearson 17 and Cheeks 15, they still were a pain in the you-know-what. Here's a 3rd and 1 where they get it. Again, running a simple inside zone concept, and you can see the right guard here, he gets on the ground, and Benson gets coming up to that next level. He gets tattooed by that backer and gets pushed back. Hemby does a great job of finding a seam and getting the first down. That kid is a great runner. Again, quick release for Fernando. They did a great job on Saturday breaking some tendencies of just doing some pure drop back passing, quick game. Thought benefited them well in the way they were executing it on 1st and 10. Here's a great play. They run a little tight end delay screen, I think was awesome. And Nowakowski does a great job of getting a big play. Again, Indiana there with a big play on the screen game, which I think they've needed. Then they come back and throw another screen, this time to Hemby on 3rd and 16. This is the one right before the half to get it down there in closer field goal range, in which they do. And, we saw the first half of what they did there, and it was 10-7, did a great job. And I'll say, watch my man here. Coogan's a great player. I love this kid. I think he's everything and anything, but he gets bull rushed here pretty bad. Boom, by that guy. And another big-time hit. This one on 3rd and 8, one-on-one. Becker runs a great route. They have great protection. And gets the ball down the field to Charlie. Great job, big play there for them. Real quick, check out some of the defense from Saturday because they were pretty darn good. This is Wisconsin's first drive. And you can see what I mean by creativity in the running. This is a RPO type of a screen deal because Anthony, he could have pulled it there and push it to him on the outside and probably should have. But Indiana does a good job. Great play there by Wheeler. 2nd and 7. I think you're going to see some teams run some up-tempo offense against Indiana. This defense. Now, this is a great play call. This is that shovel pass we talked about during the week. I showed you on Thursday. They're running a power run game, what we call, it's kind of like a power speed sweep read. So he's reading the end there, and he comes up field, and that's why he pitches it underneath. And it was just a great play call, and they got a big play out of it. We'll get to see the – whoops, I thought we had it from the end zone side, but maybe not. Let me go back here and see what we got. I thought we had the end zone on that, but maybe not. So anyway, again, Indiana, this first drive, they move the ball, but they have a big stop in this drive. I want to get down to, hold on here, couple plays where Indiana was really good. Here's one of them. This was a 3rd and 1 where they did a good job, but I want to show let's see if I can get I want to show the touchdown. Yeah, here it is. This is a great play call. It's 4th and 1. They go with their heavy personnel. You know, it looks like they're going to bang it up. Indiana's got their big-time defense, you know, guys up there in a bear look. He's got him. He's got him. He's got that guy in a man deal, and these guys got back to their side. What happens is, I think this is Hardy. He gets his eyes in the backfield, and the tight end sneaks out, and nobody's on him. It's a great call. Great call in that situation. They kind of set it up in the during the week in the game running this, and then they finally hit it for a big play with all that. So again, just some little bits of tape there.
If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet.
Sorry about that. Wrong button there, dummy. Thursday, we're going to do a little bit more of the self-scouting type of deal with some of this video once I get down to it and things of that nature, just to kind of show you what these coaches will do this week when I talk about self-scouting and how they do it and how they break it down and what it is they're looking for in that respect. So defense did a hell of a job Saturday. Offense showed up and played the second half lights out. See, Robert, you got a question here. I'll admit, after the first half, I went out on the patio, lit up a cigar, and listened to Don Fisher as much as he showed my blood pressure. That's a pretty good idea. That's a pretty good idea there. I like it. Chris, I really agree with Coach Signetti. These players and coaches really need some time off to get some of these players healthy and give the coaching staff a nice little break from football. It's much appreciated. You guys, they're grinding. That 6-week stretch there where they were predominantly on the road is a grind. I mean, you're working 12, 14-hour days, then traveling on top of it. I mean, you go to the West Coast, you come back, you go to the East Coast, you come back, you go to Penn State. I mean, those are things that really wear on your body, and a lot of it with hydration and stuff, because flying just dries you out. But you're absolutely right, and Signetti's right. It's time to refresh, get a refreshing thing, spend some time away from the building while guys will still be there watching film, be it at home or whatever. It's a good time to mentally get yourself right. And by stepping away, doing some self-scouting, taking that peek of how you're doing things and what teams are doing against you that you see are some problems, this is the week to get things connected and corrected, as well as add in whether there's creative ways to run the same play but a different look that you give the defense. Things of that nature, because that is what all good offenses do. They'll run the same plays, but it will look different to the defense and even to those that are watching, because they're doing it out of different sets. They're doing it out of different personnel groupings, things of that nature. That's why, Stays to me is a guy that could utilize more because of his physical stature and a pass receiver. He's a really good ball catcher, and then he gets moving on the outside. He's got decent speed. So hopefully they'll use him a little bit more. I've rambled on a lot more than I wanted to with my voice and chest and stuff, so I appreciate you guys bearing with me on all this. We got we'll be back here on Thursday night at 7:30 to talk a little bit more football and Purdue and what Indiana will need to do these final weeks of the season, leading up to a potential date with Ohio State in the Big Ten Championship, college football playoffs, you name it. We're going to talk about it. And remember, got any comments or suggestions, make sure you put it. I read all the comments and suggestions, especially on YouTube page, even after the video is completed and we're done. And so if you got a question about something, you got a suggestion about something, put it on the comment section, and I'll take a look at it and see what we can do. But I do appreciate each and every one of you coming here each and every week to be with me, talk a little Indiana football as we enjoy 11-0 bye week for this Indiana Hoosier team. I will see you on Thursday night at 7:30, as well as you catch me on Jim Coyle on Thursday as well. Until then, I'm the coach, Shannon Griffith. You've been watching the Hoosier Football Tailgate right here on thehoosier.com. Good night, everybody.